Scientists tell us we were all fish once, or at the very least, we learned to swim before we learned to crawl. Millions of years and the freeway of evolution separate us now, but they fascinate us still, these fish.
You know, the salmon is a magnificent creature of Mother Nature. They can overcome almost any obstacle, but we have 8 chunks of concrete that they have to work their way around, and it has become almost impossible for us to do it.
Idaho Governor Cecil Andrus has seen the miracle of the migrating fish firsthand. Like the rest of us, he marvels at the way they know precisely when to leave the relative safety of the ocean to make a hazardous journey upriver, sometimes for several hundred miles.
I mean, people marvel at the computers we have these days. They're nothing compared to this.
Ed Cheney is a worried man, even for an environmentalist.
I came to Oregon in '66, and of course we had a lot more fish then than we do now, but it was rapidly apparent that where we are today was going to be inevitable if we didn't do something. The fish aren't there. They're telling us that we're killing them, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that. All you have to do is be able to count.
117.
And there are people who do that, who sit at a window all day and count fish. At too many places along the Columbia River, at too many dams, the job isn't nearly as hard as it used to be.
Of course, we're counting squawfish. Some days get more down than we get up, but...
And some days, there are no fish at all.
Oh, there, look at this guy.
There's another one right.
Stanley, Idaho is the Sawtooth Range and a daily sunrise that can take your breath away. A place of such pristine beauty, even the postcards you buy at the local grocers don't do the real thing justice. Fishermen talk about Stanley in the same hushed tones they use in church. But not for this. For this. This lake, home of Idaho's sockeye salmon. For thousands of years, they were drawn to this remote spot in the mountains of central Idaho. Their numbers so extraordinary, they gave the lake its name, redfish. But now it appears that the waters below will forever be as still as the icy surface above.
I think it was 2 years ago that they had 2 fish come back and 1 last year. It's not a very good return.
From behind the counter, Al Kozad sees everything that goes on in Stanley.
I first come up here a long time ago, just as a kid, on vacation with Mom and Dad. We used to see hundreds of fish in the river, you know, and the sockeye salmon especially. When they get bright red, when they get up here, they're very clear in the river, and it's just something to see. I haven't seen a sockeye salmon in the river in 4 years.
The sockeye are so rare in Idaho, we had to ask a wildlife photographer in Alaska to get us these pictures. So, take a good look. Chances are you won't again see the likes of these in the Snake River Basin, or for that matter, in the Columbia.
Many big portions of what were once the world's largest salmon runs can become extinct in our time. I mean, and it's for nothing. We've just squandered them. That's the infuriating thing. This was not the inevitable price of progress. This was just the inevitable price of stupidity.
In the 1930s, the economy of the Northwest badly needed a shot in the arm. The federal government decided it could get a twofer. It could create jobs and more power with a series of hydroelectric dams.
But once that decision was made, then the question was, you also, in building the world's largest coordinated electric system, is what we have here, and laying that over on top of the world's largest Chinook salmon and steelhead runs requires a delicate touch so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Instead, it was more like shooting fish in a barrel. The Army Corps of Engineers showed anything but a delicate touch. The new dams were to be a showcase for industrial muscle. The Corps didn't figure that high-powered turbines would chew up the fish. It didn't figure that the dams would be tremendous obstacles for adult fish getting upriver to spawn. And it didn't figure that slackwater pools behind those dams might be deadly for young fish trying to make their way to the ocean.
So we take what works and we figure, well, we can fix that because today we could make more money if we did it this way. And every time we try to take these shortcuts and try to figure out, well, we don't have to worry about the natural order of things, we'll overcome that with a new bell and a new whistle. We just constantly get ourselves in trouble. This is not a matter of having to choose between fish and power. It's a matter of having to choose to have fish, and we're going to have our power too, but we're going to have to incur some short-term costs to clean up the mess that the Corps has made, and it's not an inconsiderable mess.
The mighty Columbia. California would like to tap into it to help manage a severe drought. While that's not about to happen, California already lays claim to much of the Columbia River system. Think about it. A great deal of the hydroelectric power generated in the Northwest is sold to California to keep the nation's most populous state from having to grope around in the dark.
In fact, operating dams like this one, the Bonneville Power Administration can earn as much as $1 million a day selling surplus electricity to power interests down south. But these concrete monoliths are generating more than just electricity. They're generating controversy on a scale that few of us could have imagined.
Idaho's Dworshak Dam, north of Orofino, is a case in point. Built in 1973, it was one of the last pieces in a federal program to dam up much of the region's river system. It's 700 feet high, impressive on the face of it, but Idaho paid dearly for it, and not just in dollars. Dworshak killed the salmon runs that had been the hallmark of the Clearwater Valley. There was no way for the fish to get past the dam in either direction. So the Army Corps of Engineers engineered a solution. The world's largest fish hatchery at what used to be an ancient Indian fishing village downstream. The Dworshak hatchery has had mixed success in replacing the North Fork's natural fish run because disease claims many of the young steelhead or smolts. To help the remaining stock get downriver, this year the Corps has been adding extra water to the spring flow of the Clearwater, 1 million acre-feet.
That's 1/16 of the amount that it would take to get the fish moving.
Idaho Governor Cecil Andrus argues it isn't enough to release more water from just one dam. He says the releases have to be coordinated all the way down the line, something the Corps and the Bonneville Power Administration refuse to do.
Those interests downstream that are industrial and commercial in nature think that if they can stall another 2 or 3 years, there won't be any wild salmon to worry about.
Andrus may be right, at least as far as the fish are concerned. The Snake River sockeye are now close to being listed as endangered. Coho and Chinook salmon could also be added to the list.
But how we got there, we kept pouring concrete across the rivers to generate electricity and make barge transportation to Lewiston, Idaho a reality without investing the necessary equipment, financing for the equipment to make it possible for the smolt to move downstream and for the adults to return.
Are you going to want to open this up or just rain guards?
Yeah, just the rain guards.
Okay.
I think you could probably find right here in Lewiston, there's people that don't even realize that there's tugs that run up this river.
Art Krumsick is a second-generation tugboat captain.
They're getting ready to load that barge right there.
He's been navigating the Mid-Columbia and Lower Snake for 28 years. And like others we met, he's beginning to see how the plight of the salmon touches everyone, and not just in the Northwest.
We get wheat all the way from Montana and the Dakotas shipped from here down.
How you doing today, buddy?
So it's just not the local farmers that we're taking care of here.
Yeah, we're looking about 3 on the good side.
Shippers like Krumsick are cool to the governor's plan for an annual spring drawdown of the river system. It means lowering the water level to the point that barge traffic will have to stop. Not to mention that irrigation systems will be left high and dry. And much of the Columbia River Basin will have to shut down, at least temporarily.
We weren't even sure that the salmon was even going to be an endangered species or just on the borderline. And so when they did make it an endangered species, that really shocked us.
Don Garrett operates the Red Wolf Marina at Clarkston, Washington. He's afraid his business could wind up in dry dock.
I'm concerned about our restaurant. Our restaurant is coming along so nicely. We're making a lot of improvements down here, and we're wondering just how far to go right now until we get the answers we want to find out too. How low is this going to go, or is this it? It's so shallow in this area. It's incredible. If they dropped it even another 5 feet, this river would change drastically. And they just, I don't know, it's crazy.
Crazier still is what you might call the fish taxi. If drawdowns don't work or don't happen, don't worry. The Corps is giving the salmon smolts a free ride. Not over the dams, but around them.
The Juvenile Fish Transportation Program started in 1968 as a research program. At that time, they were looking for ways to get juvenile fish around the dams without going through the turbines. The way we approach the program now, we truck fish until the fish numbers get above 20,000 fish per day here at Lower Granite Dam. Then we barge fish throughout the peak of the season. We wind up barging a lot more fish than we do trucking.
Not everyone likes the fish barge idea. That includes environmentalist Ed Cheney.
Now, the Corps is quite proud of the fact of their barging operation. And you will hear that 95% of the fish that we barge survive. But the fact of the matter is most of the fish die after they turn them loose. Otherwise, we'd be up to our ears in fish.
The Corps measures the success of the barging effort by marking the fish that make the trip. Like a tourist going through customs, each gets a stamp or ID tag in a process called pit tagging. A small glass-encapsulated coating device is injected in the fish's abdomen. It's tricky, and at a cost of $3 per fish, expensive.
The hole itself will close up to the point where there won't be any, interaction from outside to inside within a matter of half a day to a day. It'll form a scab. Then there'll be a visible scar for a few months, up to 6 months, and after that, you'd have to look really, really hard.
Over time, the scar will disappear, but the identity of each fish will be locked forever into a computer.
From then on, whenever it goes through a pit tag detector, it will read back that individual number of that fish. It's a 10-digit code, so there are something like 33 billion possible codes. So you can have a lot of marked fish out there at the same time, and you can track them from one location to the next.
And that's where we are, with huge dams that obstruct the fish runs, with barges to get the fish around those dams, and with computer models that tell us what we should have known in the first place, what futurist Buckminster Fuller always believed. Nature, he said, is trying very hard to make us succeed, but nature does not depend on us. We are not the only experiment. If only we could turn back the environmental clock the way we can rewind film in a projector. Make the Kuwaiti oil fires disappear and the Valdez oil spill. Bring back the virgin forests and the herds of buffalo. Create a state of grace where no one living thing gets favored over another. It sounds impossible, but that was the way of life for the Indians who lived in harmony with the land for thousands of years. Perhaps they alone know what we stand to lose if we stand by and do nothing.
This is the only place that there is strength left that I can talk to other folks if I want to, yeah.
Louis Dick Jr. is a holy man with Oregon's Umatilla tribe.
Salmon should have his own.
I met him atop a mountain overlooking the only home he has ever known.
There's 3 mountains.
Dick is concerned about the disappearing salmon, so much so that he defied tribal elders to speak to me.
They quarrel at me now for talking to you on television. Now, what do you tell them? Yeah, you shouldn't tell them all those things. Them gray-haired ones like that, the older ones, they tell us, you know, you don't tell those European people, this here's the food. When they learn what that food is, but now it's a you won't be here no more. This is our food. This is my land. Get out of here.
Ownership of the land, the water, the animals was a concept that turned the Indian world upside down. The rhythms of life always had dictated that they be just caretakers.
We're still following that old law. If you can relate to coyote, blackbirds, hawks, their law is you will hunt in this area. You will leave some, you will not take it all. Hawk, he lives same law as I do. Coyote, he lives same law as I do. He has territory in which he can't deplete it all. Yeah, he isn't greedy. He still lives by that law. I'm the only one that violates it. Indian people, yeah. I don't talk my language. I don't live that old way. I use a car. Yeah, I have violated many things. I have many things to explain to Creator. Yeah.
His words evaporate in the shadows of an approaching storm, but the meaning remains.
It is all connected together. It is all connected together. We call it kxly-classics. Kxly-classics is the beat of the earth, the land, the food, the water, and me as an Indian person. That's connected in there with salmon. Salmon is a religion, and if you go gather it, you will do it appropriately. You will watch me and see me to do that. But sometimes it is easier for my sons and my daughters to go to the store, Safeways. They can purchase it. They say, oh, that's awful high, you know, but they can buy it like that and bring it home. So you'd see, I got salmon. But they don't know that you go and pray first. You pray during, and you pray afterward. And then you cook it in a certain way. They don't, because Safeways is easier. Yeah, here's some dollars. Here, I'll buy some. Yeah, that is not the way that we are supposed to gather it.
On a cold morning in the Simcoe Mountains, the Yakimas bury David So Happy. The wily Indian claimed he could fish where he wanted, that his religious beliefs protected him from the long arm of the law. But that attitude landed him behind bars, and the years in prison broke his spirit. As the sun rises, his followers promise they'll continue the struggle, because their prophets have told them the Columbia River salmon will leave when they stop fishing in the traditional way.
What's the secret? Cast, cast, cast.
You can cast all you want and you won't find a sockeye. Not in Idaho's Salmon River.
Nope, never have caught a salmon.
Fishing Game said they only seen 11 fish, and I don't know if they got any at the hatchery even last year. It's just a thing of the past, almost, the sockeye. Do the dams, I imagine.
The wolf doesn't live here, the grizzly bear doesn't live here, the sharp-tailed grouse doesn't live here, the long-billed curlew, some of the geese, their habitat, all of those things are getting crowded out. And when we crowd all of them out, it becomes a place where they will retaliate, or Mother Earth will retaliate, and it will clean the land again, and it will start all over. It will take maybe a century or two, but then it will start over clean. But the clouds, they water the ground, but they try to clean the earth and clean the land from
all the filth that's on it. So if we don't help them clean it, they're going to clean it for us. And we're not going to like the way that they're going to clean it. It'll be very destructive, very painful. Creator also told us that life is going to be difficult. It is not going to be easy. So true it is. And no good comes without pain. Ask a mother. Yeah, ask a mother.